Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today. Now, I wasn't going to do a video. I was just about to put my makeup on when I looked on my porch and found that my Charlotte Tilbury had finally arrived. So you're getting another video upload today. I don't know what's going on with my hair. Look at this, it just doesn't want to actually lie down. But anyway, you haven't come on to see my crazy hair. You've come on to see the new product. So I ordered Desert Haze, which is this lovely brown, warmer, I would say warmer version of Sophisticate, as in all matte eyeshadow palette. I had got the bronzer in shade Tan, and it looks huge. Now, one thing I'll note, I love the packaging. Look at that lovely seashell. The other thing I've noticed that's different about this is in Charlotte's previous powders, there is a snap close, but this is a magnet closure. Normally you have to press them shut and they click shut, but this has got that lovely magnet closure, which I love. It looks massive. Doesn't look like you're going to run out of that soon. How many grams of product is in it? There is 16 grams of product, so a lot of product in there. And then I got the brush, and this brush feels lovely and soft. I do think her most recent editions of her brushes feel a lot better than, I just prefer them to the older type, which are quite scratchy. This feels very soft, and just lovely to have that in your handbag. I love travel brushes anyway. I've got a lot. I've got quite a few of the Real Techniques ones, and I've got some Fenty Beauty ones. Although the Fenty Beauty ones are a bit hard. I do love this. I'm going to just keep wanting to stroke this. Okay, now my eyes are quite watery today. I've got to be careful, but that's just an aside. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you that I got from Charlotte Tilbury is I picked up Flawless Filter in shade 4, because I have 3 and I have 5, and I wanted to challenge myself because I've always veered away from the medium shade 4 because I thought it looked a bit grey. But then I suddenly thought the other day, when I get a foundation that's a little bit too yellow, this would actually neutralise it quite well. So I'm going to put that on today with some Flawless foundation in the warm shade to see if it's good at calming it down, taking a bit of the yellow out. And I also got, although I don't know if this is going to go with the Desert Haze eyeshadow, but I got the classic eye powder pencil in black, which I kind of missed this when this came out a few weeks ago. And I thought I wanted to give that a try. I'll see if it works. Probably would be better to do a brown, to be quite honest. So let me just show it you. I'll swatch it on my hand and we'll get that bit out of the way because you're all waiting to see the bronzer anyway, aren't you? And I do like to tease. I'm so sorry, but you can always forward through if you don't want to watch this. So this is the powder pencil. Oh, feels very soft. Actually, it feels like a rock and kohl. I'm very impressed with that. So I can't wait to try that, but I won't be putting that on with this look, I don't think. So let's get going with this look. I'm just going to put some of this Flawless filter on, some Flawless foundation and all the base products. And I'll be back to put on the eyeshadow and the bronzer. So I'll see you in a minute after this. Okay, I'm back and I'm going to put on this eyeshadow. Now, I will swatch it for you. I won't do swatch comparisons today. I will save those for our live tomorrow. But basically, I think the one that really needs to be compared is Sophisticate, which I would say this is a warmer version of Sophisticate. I love the fact that it's an all matte quad, and I'm just going to swatch these for you and take a photo so that you can see what they look like. So first of all, we have Can you see that one? I'm going to show you it on my finger and then swatch it onto my arm and then show you that photograph. So that is the prime shade. Then we have the enhanced shade, which is this lovely kind of warm orangey terracotta. I would say real terracotta actually. And then we have the smoke shade, which is a warm brown. It reminds me of a MAC shade, that one. And then she's not calling them pops anymore, which is because she's not putting pop shades in her palettes. She's calling it, what does she call it now? Define. So this is the Define shade. And this is a slightly cooler brown. So I've just swatched those on my arm and I'm going to take a photo and leave it here. Okay, so let's get on with this eye look, shall we? So here we have the prime shade. Very close to my skin tone, actually. Looks like I'm putting nothing on, which is good. That means it will blend other shades in perfectly. And then I'm going to use the enhanced shade by popping that into the socket. Put a bit more of that. And for some reason that took a bit longer to blend in, but it looks beautiful. Right, other side, I'll whiz through this. Okay, and then the smoke shade, I'm just gonna further intensify in the corner here, just in a little V, but really nestle that in now and out. Okay, I'm gonna just take a little bit of that enhanced shade and just put it a bit further along, about halfway along my mobile lid, just to warm up the eyes a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to get my smudge brush. Okay, and I'm going to take the smoke shade underneath. Oops, a bit heavy-handed there, sorry about that. Let's not reload the brush. And then I'm going to put a bit of the enhanced shade because I like that terracotta, and I'm going to take that slightly underneath and all the way along. This would look really nice on blue eyes because of the contrast with blue. Okay, I'm going to just take a little bit more of the prime shade and put some there. This is really good if you've got hooded lids. And talking of which, I'm actually going to take this Define shade, and I'm gonna, I think they generally use this as a liner, but I'm gonna really tuck that in here to further hide the hood of my lid. Don't worry, I'm going to blend it out in a minute. I'm just placing it. What I like to do is I place it, then I look in the mirror with my eyes relaxed, because one is more hooded than the other. So this enables you to get it even by doing this. And a tiny bit underneath, just to link it up. And I'll take my blending brush and blend it out. Okay, I love the mattes. They're very pigmented. They look beautiful on. I have to say that I'm having to work harder than I normally would with Charlotte's palettes to blend it out. And it's interesting because I did actually see Charlotte Tilbury applying these, and I noticed she was having difficulty blending out the edges. You just have to work a bit harder, but it's worth the effort because they are beautifully pigmented. Sometimes when things are really easy to blend, they kind of blend away to nothing. So it's good in that respect. It's kind of the price you pay for having a better pigmented matte is that you have to work a little bit harder. But I like that, but I just keep losing that lovely terracotta and I want to get it back. So I'm just gonna put a bit more here. Because without that, it kind of looks a bit stark. So I might experiment putting this on in another order, like I did with the blue. That's better. I want that warmth to show through. Okay, I'm going to put on Charlotte's brown Feline flick pen with this, and some eye cheat and some mascara, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and it's done. I have to say the Feline flick pencil in Super Brown goes beautifully with this eyeshadow quartet. So if you were wondering about getting the quartet and you want to get yourself something else, I would definitely recommend the Feline flick pen in Super Brown. It really works really well with it. Obviously you could use Barbarella Brown, and you could also use the Pillow Talk eyeliner pencil. But I just think that Feline flick pen, it's like it was made for it. So I love that. I'm just was sitting there doing my mascara thinking, when is Charlotte going to come out with a brown mascara? And when is she going to come out with a blue mascara? Why not do some colour-coded mascaras, Charlotte? A blue one to make brown eyes pop, a brown one to make blue eyes pop, and even a green one to make, which ones have I missed out? A green one? No, not green one. It'd have to be a kind of purpley one to make green eyes pop. But not bright purple. I'm talking about a hint of, to just give you that slight pop where the eye can't necessarily see that it's blue or that it's green or that it's maroon, but it's just enough to make your eyes look brighter. Come on, Charlotte, you know it makes sense. Anyway, let's get on. And if she brings it out, you heard it here first. Bronzer. Can't wait, can't wait. So as I said, I got tan. I thought that the medium looked very close to her light to medium Film Star Bronze and Glow, and it often doesn't show up on me, and I'm kind of, what's the point? If it's not going to show up or it's going to look really subtle, then what is the point? Okay, so I got this. Now, I did also get a sample of her airbrush powder because I wanted to see whether or not it looked quite similar. I was interested in how does this bronzer differ from the powder. So I'm going to do that in a minute, but let's just apply this first. So here it is. So I got tan. Ooh. But that's fine because this brush actually blends it out quite well. I wasn't expecting it to be quite that pigmented, which is why I do first impressions, because rather than rehearsing or testing out a product for weeks, which I know some YouTubers do to get this perfect application to show you, I want you to see what you're going to do when you first apply it, and so that you can see what to avoid. I think otherwise it's just, look how polished I am. I'm not downing other people, but you know, look how to do it properly, and that kind of intimidates people. This way you see what can happen to everybody when they apply it, because if you don't know what a product is like, then everybody makes those kind of mistakes. So now I'm going in with a lot lighter hand. It has a lot more of a red undertone than I realised. So this is very suited to tanned complexions. And it's made me wonder what the medium would be like actually. Because this, I think, will be lovely for me in the summer. But maybe towards the winter time, I might actually suit medium better. So I may just purchase medium as we move into the winter time. I'm just going to put some around my chest and I'll be right back. Right, what I noticed putting it on my chest is it's got, even though it's a powder, it's got quite a creamy consistency. So it does blend really well. You could, you know, sometimes with a bronzing powder, when you're applying it to large areas and you put it on with a brush, it just sticks in one area because it's a powder. Whereas this actually was like blending in a cream. So full marks for that. Now, this is what it looks like on my finger. So that's what tan looks like. And I'm going to show it you on the palest part of my arm, just coming up now. Okay, so I've now got these. Now, I think I already know the answer because I was wanting to know what would be the difference between, say, getting a medium airbrush bronzer and a dark airbrush powder. But I think I already know the answer, having just tried that on, which is that this is a lot creamier in terms of blending in, whereas the powder, of course the powder blends in, but it doesn't have that creamy consistency that this does. It just feels almost like powder to cream as you're blending it in. So this is just to show you. So that's the dark airbrush flawless powder. So I'm just going to show you that. Let me just make sure that I don't have any of the bronzer left on my finger. Just to make sure, I'm going to put it there. So that's the Airbrush Flawless Powder in shade 3. And then on the other finger, I'm going to show you the tan. Obviously, that's a lot darker. And I'd imagine that the Airbrush Flawless Powder in shade 3 is quite similar in shade to the medium bronzer. But I don't know if you can see that, but it just goes on a lot more pigmented than the powder. So although the shades might be similar to the medium, you're going to get a lot more of a creamier, blended, more pigmented and blendable formula than if you were to go out and buy shade 3 of the Airbrush powder and use that as a bronzer, which I've often felt like doing before this came out. But there's no need to do that now. So I hope that kind of answers that question. I think you can see that this kind of picks up in a more creamier way than the powder. Okay, but I am very interested now in trying out the medium shade. And I would just, if you're going to buy tan, I get it. If you're medium skin toned and you're perhaps a little bit lighter than me, I've seen Charlotte Tilbury using tan on her skin and she's very fair. If you're going to do that, just go easy, go in with a light touch. I was sort of treating it like the powder because it's in a very similar container to the powder. I kind of went in as though I was putting airbrush finish powder on. If you do that, you're going to get that big whoa. Like, I'll play that back. Shall we play that back? Let's play it back just to show you I don't mind showing you mistakes. There you go, that's what's going to happen. So you can go for a shade that perhaps you would want to go for tan, even if you're medium shade, but just go in with a light touch and you'll be fine. And just keep blending, because this does help you to blend it out very, very well. Okay, and it is blended my chest really well as well. Okay, so now I'm going to put on a lipstick. Now I'm going to veer away from Charlotte Tilbury for the lipstick. She's got some lovely lipsticks that would go with this, but today, as you can see, I'm wearing my orange top and it's made me want to go back to Tom Ford, but not True Coral as I did yesterday, but one that is similar but not so similar to True Coral, which is another one of my favorite lipsticks, which incidentally is also available in metallic. Okay, so I'm going to use Wild Ginger, which, if you looked at this next to True Coral, or the man in your life did, they'd say, that's the same lipstick, but it's not. It's not got the pink in it that makes it coral. It's just orange and it's beautiful. Okay, now, as I said, this has also been brought out in a metallic version. How soon do you think it's going to take me to succumb to buying the metallic version? Comment below if you think I should succumb to it. Not that anyone's encouraging me. And also, if you like the kind of orangey look with this eyeshadow look, and you want to get a Charlotte Tilbury lipstick and you don't want to splurge on Tom Ford, this, if you want for something very similar to this, you could go for Hot Emily. That would look beautiful as well. Hello everyone, I thought I'd come back because I had a few more thoughts. I've been playing around with these new items and I had a few more thoughts, having just spent a couple of hours looking at them and also seeing how they wear. Now, with the eyeshadow, I absolutely love this, but I know that there's going to be people out there, quite understandably, that are going to say, oh, it's warm browns, what, blah, 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 what's new? Charlotte Tilbury's got plenty of warm colours. So I thought it would be useful to just share my thoughts on who this eyeshadow would be for. Now, you did hear me saying as I was trying it on that it was a lot more difficult to blend than a lot of other Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows. However, there is a really good plus point to that, which I have discovered. Now, I often find with my hooded lids that Charlotte Tilbury's eyeshadows do crease up, or they just don't last as long on me. They're very easy to blend, but they just don't last very well. This one, there was a little bit more work because it's tended to stick. It's got a creamy texture to it. And so therefore, when you're putting it on, it feels like it's sticking to one part of the eye and you have to do a lot of blending. But this has now been on for a good few hours, 3 or 4 hours, and it looks as good as when I applied it. And I think if you've got hooded lids and you find that your eyeshadow, maybe the shadows that you've tried from Charlotte Tilbury before, that have blended really easily but maybe don't last very well, this would be really good for you. I also think that this is a perfect palette to get for work because there's no sort of high shimmer to it, but it looks really classy and really professional, and I'm really loving it actually. I think I've always liked Sophistica anyway, and I think when you've got hooded lids, an all matte palette is a great thing to have. I can see myself wanting to dab something more shimmery in the inner corner, but of course you can do that with your highlighter when you're putting your highlighter on you, if you really want to do that. But I actually like it as it is, and it is, I think, a lot longer wearing than a lot of her other quads. So I think if you are looking for a quad that is going to look very warm, a warm toned quad that you can wear for work, Sophistica is very good, but it's cool toned browns. This is a warm tone and it just gives a bit more warmth to the face. I think that this would be really, really good as a go to work, look professional, look smart for an interview. Now you've noticed that I've changed my lipstick. I always do that because I want to test out what lipsticks will go with it. And there wasn't anything on Charlotte's site that actually mentioned what lipsticks would go well with it. I think if you I did put in the search engine on her site, lipstick to go with Desert. I keep wanting to call it Desert Dusk because I think that's a Huda Beauty, Desert Haze, isn't it? I did put that in and it came up with In Love with Olivia, which probably does look great. And I haven't tried that yet, but In Love with Olivia is one of my favourite lipsticks. But this is Pillow Talk Intense, and I think this goes really well with it as well. But In Love with Olivia would go really well too. But I've put Pillow Talk Intense and the Intense Liner, and I think that works really nice with it. Now, to the bronzer, I had some further thoughts about the bronzer. I actually really love the bronzer, and I'm going to be honest with you, when it came out, I thought, oh, this is a gimmick. She's calling something else Airbrush because she's had such success with the Airbrush foundation, and how different can it be to her Airbrush powder? But actually, the creaminess of it, when I say creaminess, it doesn't feel like cream. It does feel like a powder. But as you're putting it on, it blends in like a cream and is incredibly even. And it reminds me of the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. But there's a big difference. Obviously, the formula of that bronzer, because the butter bronzers are quite shimmery with Physicians Formula, and this is matte. So if you can imagine a matte version of Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, that's how I describe it. Now, what I found was really good about this is that you know that I'm very, very pale. I'm going to just show you. I've always been like that because I just don't tend to wear low cut tops or whatever. So even when my face is really tanned, my chest looks very fair in comparison. So if I just show you there, you can see the difference. And obviously today has been a bit more sunny, and my fairness would probably start from about there, because most of the time I wear tops that go up there. What I found with this bronzer that was really good is that it applied in such an even way when I took it round with the Airbrush bronzer brush, that it just looks like my skin. It doesn't look like I've just powdered. A lot of powders do tend to kind of just congregate in one area, and then you're trying to get it to look natural, like it's your skin, but it just sort of, you get patches of a bit of bronzer in one area and then the rest of it just doesn't look balanced when you're putting it in a larger area. This is perfect for if you want to bronze a larger area, say your shoulders, your décolleté. Really, really good for that. So I'm more excited about this bronzer than I ever thought I would be. And I do now want to get the medium one for the winter time, but I might hold off until the winter, because at the moment the tan one is fine for me. But last up, I wanted to show people that are maybe going for tan, that are my kind of skin tone. So maybe there is mixed race, Asian skin tone. I know a few of you watching me have got very similar skin tone to me. The difference between the tan bronzer and the tan Hollywood Film Star Bronze and Glow. I always call it Hollywood Bronze and Glow. It's Film Star Bronze and Glow. So I'm going to do that swatch now before I finish. But I hope that that's been helpful to just give you that sort of last, now that I've had time to kind of not just do a first impression, but just to see how it sits for a couple of hours. And I am really loving it. It looks, although it's matte as well, it doesn't look flat matte, but it's not shimmery either. It just gives you a nice glow, and I'm really, really loving it more than I thought I would. So let me just finish off by showing you the difference between the tan bronzer, Airbrush bronzer, and the medium to dark Film Star Bronze and Glow. The other thing I noticed, by the way, is that the bronzer has been made in Ireland. And a lot of Charlotte Tilbury's, if you look at her Film Star Bronze and Glow, are made in Italy. And I just hope that this isn't due to, it's great that they're made in Ireland. You know, my other half is originally, his parents are from Ireland. I just hope that the COVID crisis hasn't affected the suppliers in Italy, because they've been through so much, and I hope that they're still being used to make Charlotte Tilbury products, because we all want to support one another through difficult times. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. So now let me just take this bronzer from the Film Star Bronze and Glow. So this is the Film Star Bronze and Glow in medium to dark, and so obviously I'm just going to take the bronzer and I'm just going to swatch that for you here. So that is the bronzer. Now obviously remember that this is a different formula. This feels a lot drier than the bronzer. The bronzer doesn't feel, it does feel like a powder, but it's difficult to describe. When you're blending it, it feels very creamy, whereas this feels like a powder. It sort of will move a bit more, but it's very difficult to describe. It's the feel that you get when you put it on the brush, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, just leave a comment below and I'll try and explain it a bit better. So anyway, that is the bronzer from Film Star Bronze and Glow, medium to tan, medium to dark. And then I'm just going to swatch the bronzer here from the new Airbrush bronzer in tan, so that you can see. So it's got a lot more kind of red undertones, which is what you'd expect from a bronzer. So this one has always been a multitasker, so you can use it as a bronzer and you can use it to sculpt as well. Whereas this one isn't really designed for sculpting, although you could if you wanted to, but it's a lot warmer for that. So when you're going to sculpt, you're better using something with a bit more neutral undertone, or even better actually, the Kevin Aucoin. If anyone's ever had a Kevin Aucoin sculptor, it's just the perfect shadow shade. It looks like a shadow, and it actually looks grey, but it works so well. But anyway, that's an aside. So that is the medium to dark Film Star Bronze and Glow, and that is the new Airbrush bronzer in tan. And as soon as I succumb to the medium bronzer, I will of course show you the difference there. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this. If there's any questions I haven't answered that you really need to know, do post your comments and questions below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you once again for watching, and I think I've said goodbye to you already, but I might cut that bit out and just say goodbye to you again and say thank you for joining me, and don't forget to join me tomorrow on my live at 1 o'clock, where I can do any swatch comparisons that you like, and just let me know if you've got anything that you want me to demonstrate on my live, and I'll make sure that I have those products by my side for the live. All right, take care, have a great day, love you all. Mwah!